Hey up, it's Steve from that old Yorkshire Geek, and it's what day is it? It's Monday, which means it's The Last of Us review time. We're up to on season 1, episode 3, which is called Long Long Time, and it's an episode which has very little of Ellie and Joel in it. They are in it, obviously, but they are not the focus of this episode. The focus of this episode are two characters called Bill and Frank, who were in the game, but they've been changed slightly. It's causing a bit of an ooh-ah on the internet. I don't know why, because it's a very emotional episode, and I must admit I did cry during this episode. I've been emotional today anyway, for whatever various reasons. But this is an emotional episode, so let's get into it, shall we? Where have I put it? Right, so we start as usual with the HBO logo. So hang on, how are we going to do this? Yeah, we'll try that. So it's going to go frame at a time. And my Friday night appointment with Fears, when I try doing this frame at a time, it goes like a minute at a time, but now it's doing it a frame at a time. We'll be here all night doing it like that, won't we? Right, and actually we start off, we don't have a cold open, like a scene before the titles. It just goes straight into the titles with the music by whose name I can never remember, that Argentinian chap. So we go straight into that, and I think we start off with Joel and Ellie. Here we go. Here's Joel. He's collecting stones. I don't know why. Does it explain it in the write-up? No, it doesn't. I suspect it might be something to do with Tess. He's obviously still mourning the loss of Tess, which we saw last week. You see his knuckles haven't healed up yet, so it must be just the next day. Remember, he injured his knuckles beating that guard to death. Anyways, he's collecting these stones, and I can't remember why. Maybe it does explain it, I don't know. But anyway, it shows him doing that. Here we go, 10 miles west of Boston. That's where they are. So it goes back to where she is, Ellie. She says she's never been in the woods before. She thought there'd be more bugs, she said. So there's not a lot of bugs about then, it must, maybe. And I think it's summer. I think they said somewhere it's August. So you think there'd be quite a lot of bugs. Has the infection, got rid of the bugs? I don't know. Is that offhand statement? Is it going to be important? I don't know. So they're walking along, and she's asking him how he got his scar on his head. He's got a scar on his head. I've never noticed it, but it must be there. And he says somebody shot at him and missed. And she says, that's cool. And she said, did you get him? He says, well, he shot back, but he missed as well. And he says, it happens more than you think. And she asks, generally, in general, or because you're a crap shot. And he just says, in general. So that's what they're talking about there. She asks for. She sees he's got a spare pistol. So she starts asking, since there's only them two now, she should have a gun, and he just says no immediately. Right, they end up at a shop. I think it's supposed to be a farm shop. It's called Cumberland Farms. So he says he's got to grab some stuff. He's stashed some things there. He said that him and Tess used to go out and they used to stash things in case they needed it. So that's what they're going there for. So they go inside, and but he can't remember exactly where it was. So he's hunting around for his stash of supplies, and Ellie goes looking round, and she finds an entrance to like a basement. There you go, she opens it up and she drops down. So she's been a bit devil-may-care here, to be honest. But she drops down, because there could be anything in there, couldn't there? Anyway, she upends this bin, this dustbin. Sorry, trash can. We call them dustbins. She upends that so she can climb back out again. And then she hears a noise. She's looking around. She finds some sanitary towels. So she must need them. She must be of that age. And then she hears a noise, and then we see there's an infected person. I don't think they're not quite a clicker yet, but they're infected, and they're buried under lots of like stone and breeze blocks and stuff, so they can't eat. I mean, it's a he, obviously, but I suppose you've got to call them a eat. Can't get at her, and she like examines it for a while, and then she gets a knife out and she like cuts it on its forehead. As I was once told, that's how you pronounce it. Forehead. She cuts it, and she's like kind of, I don't know, a bit cruel, to be honest. I don't like it. There we go. It's obviously, it's not hurt. He can't feel it. This, and then she just kills it, stabs it in the head. I suppose putting him out of his misery, I suppose, but. I don't know if she's done that before. Could be a first time, I don't know. Anyway, Joel's asking where Ellie is, but she just comes out and says, found some stuff. She shows him his sanitary products. Anyway, so they pack up, get the supplies. They see a crashed plane. She asks, has he ever been in one? He said, yeah, a few times. As they're walking along, I think she's asking how it started, what happened, and he explains to Joel that the virus or spores or whatever is causing it, fungus in it. It basically got into the food and water, which is how it spread so quickly. That's how he explains it. So the food that you were eating and the water you were drinking, it had the fungus in, and that's how it spread so fast. Before they could clamp down on it. And then they come across lots of bodies, well, skeletons now. Lots of bodies. It's obviously it's an open grave, and Joel explains that when the outbreak happened back in 2003, people were tried to put people in the quarantine zones. They set up the quarantine zones, but obviously they got full quickly, and anybody that couldn't get in were basically executed. And she said, why did they kill people? And Joel says, well, dead people don't spread the infection. So that's so it was a bad time. And then we focus on a blanket here with a rainbow pattern on. So it's obviously a baby. And then we cut to 2003. Go back a little bit. There we go, September 30th, 2003. We see that this is the baby that's in the open grave, and that's the baby's mother. We saw that dress as well. So obviously they don't get out of this time alive. They get executed. It's all very sad. It's a very dour, depressing episode, is this one. But we're seeing some people, getting taken away. Some people were going to the quarantine zones, I suppose, and obviously some won't. But then we see there's one chap. Here he is. This turns out this is Bill. He's in his basement, but he's got a sub-basement. He's got a basement beneath his basement that he's set up. He's a prepper. He calls himself a survivalist. And he's got these cameras set up outside so we can see what's going on. He's got all his guns and his supplies and stuff. And the troops are going, through the town, evacuating people. And he obviously doesn't want to go, so he's hiding in his sub-basement. So they don't find him. And then he calls them a New World Order, Nazis, he calls them, stuff like that. So he waits for him to go, and then he comes out of his basement, does Bill. It's still 2003, remember. They're the townsfolk being taken away to their doom, we learn. But anyway, he comes out. Oh, I think we see a sign about the mandatory evacuation in a moment. There we go. Mandatory evacuation notice. All residents of the current zone and all outlying areas are required to evacuate by 8 p.m. on 30th September 2003. So there you go. All evacuees will be asked to provide identification and may be subject to on-site medical testing. Any evacuees resisting official direction will be detained. So, if you can't just say, I want to stay here, you've got to go. This is why we're hiding, Bill. Anyway, he comes out. He thinks the coast is clear. Anyway, finds that the town's empty. Everybody's gone. So then he starts stocking up now. He goes to all the various shops and stores and things in the town, stocking up on things. He gets a boat that we never see him use, but he gets a boat. Anyway, collects all his stuff. He goes to here we go. He goes to the local. It's a gas terminal, natural gas terminal. So he turns that back on. Obviously, the authorities have turned it off because all the power's gone. They were going through one of the stores, and the power went out. And he said that were fast. But he turns this gas on, so he's got gas at home. So he goes back up. Oh, there he goes. He gets his own generator, his own power generator. We saw him at a gas station, filling up barrels with fuel. Pardon me, for his generator. He fences the whole area off, as we'll see. He goes chopping trees down. He's building traps and pits and stuff like that. And he's cooking for himself. He's fenced off the whole area, and I think he might have electrified the fence as well. So anyway, he's enjoying his solitude now. And here we go. He watches through his camera. An alarm goes off. He must have proximity sensors as well. And an infected stumbles in and gets itself. Hang on, I'll take the sound off. And gets itself shot because it goes through one of his trip wires. There we go. So that's the end of that one. And he seems quite pleased. He's set up his fence and he's got his a coded entry. But then he finds somebody stumbled into one of his traps. Good job he didn't have like spikes at the bottom, innit? But this is where we meet Frank. So there he is. There's Frank. Stumbled into one of his traps. So Bill gets him out. He says he's heading for Boston. He's come from somewhere else. I can't remember. And so he gets a ladder, lets him come out, and he's going to send him on his way. He says Boston's that way. Frank says, I'm hungry. I haven't eaten for 2 days. Have you anything to? Could you give me anything to eat? And he says, well, if I do, the first person you tell, they'll come for something to eat. And he says, I'm not an Arby's, which is a restaurant in America apparently. So he promises he won't tell anybody. Well, he says he can't promise not to tell anybody. But he takes him in anyway. And this is where Frank and Bill become friends. And they become closer than friends, as we'll see. There we go. Frank's having a shower. Bill gets him some clean clothes. And here we go, he cooks him a meal. By the way, Frank is played by what's his name? Nick Offerman. You may know, I can't remember. He was in a famous programme. I can't remember what it was now. But Frank's played by Nick Offerman, and Bill's played by Nick Offerman. Frank is played by Murray Bartlett. And Murray Bartlett is actually Australian, but he puts on a good American accent. Anyway, so here they are. So they're having a meal together. Frank says thank you at the end, and then he sees a piano in the next room. Here we go. Sees the piano, and he finds some music. He says it was his mother's piano, so he's obviously living in the family home. Not sure about Bill's sort of like romantic history. He does say that he did. It seems he did have a relationship with a girl when he was younger, but as we'll see, that changes his preference. Is it a needs-must thing? Any port in a storm? I don't know, but anyway. So anyway, Frank starts playing the piano. He's obviously out of practice. Songs by Linda Ronstadt. Obviously, that's a favourite of Bill. But it upsets him. Bill asks him to stop playing that. But then Bill sits down and he starts playing and singing. And Frank asks who the girl is, and he says there's no girl. And then he says, I know. And then they kiss. And I've got to admit, at the time, I did go, oh, here we go. They've got to get it in, haven't they? But it's a really good episode, is this? And it's a good... So I was thinking, what are the odds in this, disaster that's happening that two gay men just happen to come together? I suppose it's possible, but you'd think it'd be unlikely, wouldn't you, given the percentage of the gay population? But to be honest, I'm not sure that Bill was gay. I think it could have. I don't know. It's difficult to explain it and not sound homophobic. But because he says he did have there was a girl many years ago, but not anymore. So he must be gay. But anyway, they do end up falling in love. They do go to bed. On the first date, so to speak. But it's all done tastefully, I must admit. It is tastefully done. It's not gratuitous. I mean, it looks it here, but it isn't. It's all very well done. And you can see that Bill's unsure all the time. Frank is the one taking charge. But then it cuts to, I think, 4 years later. Here we go. There you go. Oh, 3 years later. It goes 3 years later, then it goes 4 years later. So it goes 3 years later, because I did say we're going to leave. I'll leave in a few days, he says, does Frank. And Bill says, okay. And then it goes to 3 years later. Oh, you can't see for me. Hang on. There, look, I'm not lying. 3 years later. And Frank's wants to do something and Bill's against it. Frank, he just wants to basically tidy up the town. Bill just wants them to look after the house where they live. But Frank says, well, we've got it all fenced off. We should really look after the whole thing. All of it is their home now. So he wants to basically just tidy it all up and fix up some of the stores. Because he says, friends will come. And they've got to be able to, let their friends have somewhere to stay. And he says, I haven't got any friends. And he says, well, I've been talking to a nice lady on the radio. Which turns out, I think, to be Tess. So the next thing we see is Joel and Tess having dinner with Frank and Bill. This is where they're still talking about fixing up, the shops and stuff. And he, grudgingly agrees, does Bill. And here we go. And then we cut to Joel and Tess are having dinner, and we see Anna Torv looking like her usual glamorous self, because she's super attractive. I think she was a model, wasn't she? I think before she became an actress. As you can say, good bone structure. We see with Joel there, and we see that Frank and Tess, they do seem to get on quite well, and Joel and Bill are more alike. They don't really get on, but they have respect for each other. By the way, Bill's sitting with his hand on a gun the whole meal. Frank and Tess go in the house, and Joel says he understands why Bill is the way he is, but then he says, stop, get that gun out of my face. So he finally puts the gun away. Anyway, they end up agreeing to trade. Joel points out, Bill says, we're self-sufficient, we don't need anything. And Joel points out that his fence is starting to rot. The wires starting to corrode, so it won't last forever. He says he can get him like 10 rolls of uncorrodable wire. Don't ask me, I'm not into DIY. So that begins their trading partnership, and it's Frank that comes up with the idea. They talk to each other on the radio. Frank comes up with the idea of having a code system. Remember, I think we're in the first episode, where if they hear 80s music, that's trouble. 70s music means something else, And it was Frank that came up with that code system. And obviously, at some point, they tell them the code for the gate, because Joel uses it later on. So off they go. Joel tells Bill, they're going to have to be prepared to protect this, because he says raiders will come at some point. I know must have been okay for 3 years, but raiders will come at some point, and Joel tells him they'll come at night and they'll be heavily armed. But Bill says, we're protected. Then another 3 years later, 2013. I must have missed the 4 years bit out. There was a 3 years and a 4 years. Maybe it were 4 years 4 years later when Joel and Tess arrived, and now we're 3 years again. 2013. So we're 10 years after the initial outbreak. Here we are. We see Frank is wanting to show Bill. He's got some strawberries growing. He traded one of Bill's guns for a packet of strawberry seeds with Joel or Tess or one of them. And Bill's says, which gun? He says, one of the small ones. So anyway, so the kind is happy about it. They're having a nice moment. You can see that they're a proper partner. The proper partners. They are a loving couple. Enjoying the strawberries there. There we go. So we're gonna start snogging again. Anyway, I presume it's that night, or at another night. Maybe, I don't know. But anyway, some raiders do come, and they're setting off all the traps. See Bill's out with his sniper rifle shooting some of them. Some of them are getting set on fire with the. Hang on, I've gone too far. With the there we go. With the traps that Bill's set up, and I think the fence is electrified. So Bill says, "But the traps don't get, the fence will finish off." So, but they've got guns, and Bill gets shot. So Frank helps him inside and starts pouring booze on the wound. And he thinks he's going to die, so he tells Frank that he's written a list and stuff, and he's got to contact Joel. Joel will look after him, and so we think Frank's going to die. And actually thought he did, because he went all still and didn't see him breathing. Then the next scene, he's not dead. I think Frank says he's going to look after him, and then in the next scene. I think it goes to present day then, 2023. We see. Here we go. Is this what's going to happen here The tables have turned anyway. Is it going to have the date? There we see a figure there, obviously in a wheelchair. I thought it was going to be Bill, but it turns out it's Frank. Go on, I'm going to see the date. I'm going to show us the date. I'm sure it's 2023 now. Come on, show us it. It's not going to show us it, is it? Never mind. Oh, there we go. 10 years later, so it's 2023 now. So we're in the present day now, and we see it's Frank in the wheelchair. And Bill's alive and kicking. So Frank saved his life. Frank has obviously got some, degenerative diseases in a wheelchair. I don't think it says what he's got. It might do, but I might have missed it. But he's obviously in a bad way. But he paints, does some good painting. That's obviously Joel, isn't it? Well, I think it is. So some nice paintings he's done that are around the house. And who's this? This is Bill bringing a watering can. Here we go. He's got to take his tablets, and I say he's struggling. You can't see. He's got to drink through a straw, and struggling even doing simple things. He can't even take his tablets. Can't take his tablets out of the bag that they're in. So Bill's to help him with that. He's in a bad way. Is Frank? See, they're getting on now. All their hair's greyed. Remember, it's 20 years later now. I think they're supposed to be around about 40, weren't they? So they'll be 60, pushing 60 now. So anyway, so he's here though. They got into bed. Bill gives him a little peck on the cheek. Good night. And I actually thought Frank was going to die in his sleep here, but he doesn't. He doesn't. There we go. See, next morning, he's out of bed and he's sitting there, and Bill wakes up, and Frank says, "It took me half the night. I'm exhausted," because he got out of bed by himself. Because obviously Bill's got to help him. So, but he got out of bed, and he tells Bill that this is his last day. So they have a little chat, and this set me off. I might start now just talking about it. You can hear me throat tightening up. This is where Frank says this is going to be his last day, and Bill starts crying, and Frank says what they're going to do. They're going to go shopping. They're going to go to the boutique, and they're going to get some nice clothes, and he's going to wear what Frank wants him to wear, and they're going to have a lovely dinner, and then Bill is going to take the rest of Frank's tablets, crush them up, put them in his wine, he's going to drink it, then they're going to go to bed, and that's it. He's going to hold him in his arms, and then that's it. So obviously they're both crying. I was crying. Toss him a big soft pob. Here we go. So that's what they agreed to do. Here we are. So have another kiss. Because the lovers, remember. There's a lot of people saying, why did they have to have this gay relationship in? And I thought, well, why not? When they first kissed and stuff, I thought, here we go. They've got to shoehorn it in, haven't they? Everything, but the episode won me over. It's a really good episode. Just forget about the LGBTQ aspect of it, and just go with the characters. Anyway, here they are. They're having their dinner. And he takes the wine off him. He's got the tablets that are crushed up. He puts that in the wine. And then Frank drinks it off in one gulp. And then Bill drinks his off in one gulp. And Frank looks at him and says, the word crushed up, medication was in the bottle. So Bill says yes. And he says, but obviously, if he's going to die, Bill's going to die. That's his only reason for living. So that's the way they're going to go. Yeah, I'm going. So that's what happens. They go upstairs. Here we go. They go upstairs. And then I think then we cut to Joel and Ellie, I think. Yep, then we cut to Joel and Ellie. They arrive. Joel puts the code in the thing, and it obviously knows the code so they can get in. And then they go to the house. They can see that the plants are dying. Everything looks not as well kept. I don't know how long's gone by. I suspect it might be a few weeks. I suspect a few weeks might have passed. So they go in. The doors are unlocked, which seemed to surprise Joel that the door was unlocked. But they go in, and he tells Ellie to stay there. They see everything dusty. There's the meal that they had. And Joel goes looking around. He goes upstairs. Oh, hang on, that's it. Right, just a minute. Go back. Joel goes upstairs. See, I'm just wiping a little tear. Joel goes upstairs, and Ellie finds a letter, and it said, "To whom it may concern, but probably Joel." But while she's looking at that, Joel goes upstairs, and he's about to go into the bedroom. Here we go. He's about to go into the. I presume he knows which is their bedroom. He's about to go in when this door blows shut for some reason. I think they just needed something to distract him from the bedroom, and he says Ellie, and he goes back down. It wasn't Ellie, it was just the wind probably blew it shut. Probably because this door here is open, airlock thing. Anyway, he goes back downstairs, and she's got the letter, and she reads it out, and she said, it explains what they've done, and it says, do not go in the bedroom. They've left the window open, so the smell isn't quite so bad, but it's probably not nice. So that's how they know that Frank and Bill are now dead. But there's the letter says they can take what they want. It's all there, for them to use. So that's what they do. So they go and stock up on stuff. They take the car, because there was with the letter were some car keys. So Joel goes. He's made a battery. There's stuff to make a car battery in the garage or in the basement or whatever. I actually thought he was going to start crying because it looked, maybe he did, but they didn't show it on camera because maybe he's not that good an actor, not as good as me. Anyway, made a battery for the car, so they have to wait for that charging. And while they're waiting, Ellie has a shower, and then she says, Joel, you've got to go have a shower because you smell. So he goes and has a shower. They get cleaned up. They must get some clean clothes as well. This is Joel checking the car out. Here we go. Anyway, so they're ready to set off again. And so they get in the car. Oh, by the way, they go down into Bill's basement. There's all the guns. Oh, by the way, she found another gun in... Actually, this is before they go in the shower because she's got different clothes on. She finds the T-shirt that she wears in the game, with the pattern on. Joel won't let her have one of these guns, but while Joel's in the shower, she's having a look round. Here we go. She breaks this clock, and she looks in a drawer. Oh, pardon me. Finds a gun in it. There you go. Then she's got it there. So anyway, she stashes it away in a bag. There was a letter with it, and I wonder, I don't know what it said. Oh, she's going to find it in a moment. I'm just going to see if we can make out what it says on the letter. So I never paused it when I was watching it. Come on. If I do this, it'll miss. Oh, there we go. No, I can't make it out. There's like some writing in there, there's a letter or whatever, and I wonder what it says. I wonder what that says. I don't know. Is it important? Probably not. What's that he's given to her? Oh, yes. Joel comes back out. She says, oh, aren't you pretty? And he throws her some deodorant stick, underarm deodorant, so she uses that. So anyway, so they've got all the gear now. They get in the car. It's the first time she's ever been in a car, apparently. She says it's like a spaceship. She finds a tape they put it in, and it's Linda Ronstadt, of course. So they set off, and he says, Linda, she says, shall I turn it off? Says, no, it's good, leave it, it's Linda Ronstadt. So they set off, driving. I thought he was going to smash through the gate, but he didn't. He uses the remote to open the gate, and obviously, I presume he closes it behind him, so nobody else can get in. Leave Bill and Frank, and that's how it ends. They drive off, and it ends on the window of Bill and Frank's bedroom, as we will see. There you go. See the windows open. And it just pans back. Obviously, we don't see them, and that's the end of the episode. And I was crying because I'm a big silly bugger. But it was a really good episode, excellent, in fact. And I'd give this one a 10 out of 10. I give last week's a 10 out of 10, and this one, if I could, I'd give it 11 out of 10. It was that good. Joel and Ellie were only in a little bit at the beginning and the end. We saw Tess again, which were nice. We learned about more about the outbreak and how ruthless the government were. But it was mostly about this relationship between Frank and Bill, and how they met and how they fell in love, and how they cared for each other for 20 years, and then they did a pact and ended it together in their home. And I'm going again. Right, so we'll leave it there. As I said, 11 out of 10 for that episode. Sorry for being a big soft pob. So anyway, thanks for watching. By the way, next week's episode is called Please Hold My Hand. And I think I need a bit of that right now. So, we'll leave it there. Wherever you are in the universe, look after each other. And until next time, I always got the wrong way. I'll say the...